Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into another episode of Hashtag Makeup Together, How to Make a Simple Dinner. Tonight we are going to be doing a little brunch. I'm going to have some apple cinnamon muffins, and I'm going to be having just like a vegetable bake with eggs, and then also some sausages. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with cutting up the vegetables. Alright, I'm going to start off by oiling the pan. So we're just going to do just a variety of vegetables in here. We're going to be adding some tomato, one zucchini, one squash, some onion. We're going to have some kale. The kale I'm going to cut up now, but I'm going to add it later. And then I have some potatoes here. And then I also have some orange peppers that I'm going to cut up. I just cut these up and then froze them just so I could take them out later. And then so also I have the jalapenos that I made. I had another video where I made these and they ended up being way too spicy for me to eat because I thawed them out, and when they thawed, because they were frozen, the juices from the seeds, or the oils rather, from the seeds came out and made it super spicy. So yeah, I'm just going to take these because there's only 4 of them. So I'm just going to cut them up into smaller pieces and then throw that in there because I don't want that to go to waste. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut everything, and I'm going to add it to the pan. So I'm going to start off with the potatoes. I don't know if I'm going to use all these. I got 7. But we're going to go ahead and cut these, and I'm going to add them to the pan. You guys have seen me, if you've seen the other videos, you've seen how I cut the potatoes. I just like to cut it, depending on the size of your potato, into 4ths, or you can do 5ths. Like this one will definitely get cut into 5ths. And then I just like to make little slivers out of them. And then just dice them up. Like so. And you can cut them however to your liking. I like them in smaller pieces. I just think that when they're the smaller pieces, it gets more of like that yummy, starchy, melt in your mouth potato, which I really like. So that's how I cut them. They come out pretty much even when you cut them like that. Cutting them lengthwise, you have a lot of control on what size they come out to be. I think that's normal. Is it? I don't know. We're gonna think about that one. Alright, so I'm just gonna cut all these up. I'm really weird, by the way, about like if anything has different colors on it. I'm really weird about that. I don't know why. I never had any issues with it until just like, I don't know, maybe like a couple years ago was when it started. And then I was like, I don't want to eat all that. I don't know if anybody else is like that too. So I'm just gonna chop all these up. Oh, that fell apart, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna continue cutting and then just add them to the pan as I go along. Alright, so I'm finally done with cutting everything. This is what it's looking like. This is the potatoes, onions, the peppers, tomatoes, zucchini, squash, and then the leftover of the stuffed jalapenos. So I'm going to put this in the oven on 400. We're going to cook it for 15 minutes, flip it over, and then I'm going to add the kale in. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for everything to cook, we're going to go ahead and get started on the muffins. So I'm going to be making apple cinnamon muffins, and the recipe called for applesauce, but I don't have any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slice up the apple and just into smaller pieces, and then I'm going to just boil it with some water, and then I'm going to use the immersion blender to break it up. I only need a cup of the applesauce, so we're going to do it like that. And then this other apple I'm going to chop up into small pieces, and that's going to be like the actual chunks in there. So this whole apple right here I'm going to just put into some water, just a little bit, And then I'm going to, once it's done boiling and steaming, I'm going to leave the lid on. Then I'm going to use the immersion blender. All right, so just to show you, that is approximately 1/4 a cup of water. And so I'm just going to put the apples in here, and I'm going to make sure that I have the lid on, and I'm going to let that boil, and then we'll blend it. So how I'm going to cut these, so I just cut it into fourths and then just cut out that middle part, and then I'm just going to slice it pretty thinly. I like it when the muffins have like actual chunks of the fruit in it. The recipe did not call for these, it just called for the applesauce, but I really want it to have the chunks in it as well. So I'm just going to cut it like that and then just kind of dice them like so. And I probably won't use all of that now that I'm looking at it. I'll probably just use half an apple and save the other half for my son for breakfast tomorrow. So, and then with these little pieces, I'm just gonna chop them up a little bit smaller so that way the chunks are not too big. So I want them to be like tiny diced. So they're all they're a little bit smaller, if you can see that. So I'm going to do that with half the apple, and then I'm going to save these two just for my son for breakfast in the morning. So the recipe for the muffins, they called for 2 cups of almond flour. And so I'm going to show you today how I make my almond flour. So by the way, just in case you didn't know, the difference between almond flour and almond meal is that almond meal is chunkier pieces of the almonds, where almond flour is thinner. So I have found that the best way to do that is to put in less almonds when you're blending it. So I try to just get like a nice flat bottom. That actually might be a little too much. And then I just blend it, and that way it comes out smoother the less almonds that you put in, thus making it more like the almond flour texture. Let's check this out and see how it is. So still kind of chunky, so I'm going to just blend it for just a little bit more, but obviously not too long, because then that can turn into butter. Alright, so I finally got it a little bit thinner. So I needed 1 cup altogether. Get out my spatula here. And I like doing this a lot better because it's cheaper than buying the almond flour already made. So if you can see kind of how thin that is, that's how I wanted it to come out. So this looks like it's going to be about maybe a little less than a cup actually. And I like to make the almond flour as I'm using it, because if not, then it can kind of clump together if you leave it in there, since it's so thin and a little sticky. So this is about a half a cup. So I'm going to do that some more times just so I can get 2 cups all together. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start getting everything else in here. So this is 2 cups of almond flour. I'm also going to be pouring in 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to be adding in some baking soda. We're going to be getting 1 tablespoon, or 1 teaspoon rather. Let's find 1 teaspoon baking soda. Sprinkle that around there. Alright, next we're going to be adding 4 eggs. apple. Alright, let me move that off to the side. So then I'm going to be adding in a little bit of cinnamon. I was going to be adding some nutmeg, but my mom really doesn't like the nutmeg part of it. So since she's going to be eating some of these, I'll leave it out. So a little bit of that in there, and then we're going to be getting out the apples. So I poured out some of the water a little bit closer to the time that it was going to be done. So I'm just going to pour it all in here. And then I have the immersion blender, and I'm just going to just blend it up. You can see they're still nice and hot. So I'm just going to blend them. Get out some of this in here. I like to do it with the skin on. I like mine like that, but if you do not like your apples with the skin on, feel free to cut them off. So I'm going to just blend it up a little bit more. Oh, I unplugged it. All right. So that is good and done. I'm going to take the rest out of here. And I think that's going to end up giving me exactly the amount that I needed. And this does not have anything sweetened in it. Once again, if you like applesauce sweetened, feel free to add in some honey or whatever. And I did see a seed in here. And so you can kind of see the consistency. If you don't want it that thick way, like I said, just leave out the skin. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, but first I'm going to take out the stuff in the oven. Alright, so I needed to just have a cup of the applesauce, so I'm going to just spoon it in here. I think it's going to give me exactly 1 cup. Yes, pretty close to it. So we're going to add that applesauce in, and I see one more seed. I don't really want to eat the seeds, so take that out. All right, and then I'm going to just add this in here, our applesauce. And I'm going to get a little bit of honey to add that in. So really quick, before we get started on mixing up the muffins, I wanted to just show you guys what that looked like. So this has probably another 15 minutes or so. So I'm just going to stir it up really quick. I'm not going to add the kale quite just yet. I want this stuff to be a little bit more done before I add the kale. So I guess I'm going to put this in here for about another 5 more minutes. 5 or 6 more minutes, and then I will add the kale to it. But it's nice that everything is fitting on here. And then of course, you know, the kale is like spinach, and it will shrink once it's on there. So I just wanted to show you guys that, and then I'm going to pop this back in the oven. And the oven is on 450, by the way. So I'm going to put that in there for another 6 minutes, and by then the muffins will be ready. All right. All right, so back to this. I'm going to add just a smidge of salt. Just a tad bit of honey, not too much because the apples are already sweet. Just a little bit in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and blend everything up. Get it nice and smooth. go ahead and add in the apples. And I'm just going to fold those in with my spatula. And then I have some liners, some muffin liners. I'm going to grab those really quick and we'll get those in there. So I like to use the liners because inevitably I always, no matter how much I oil the pan, I seem to have the hardest time getting out muffins and cakes. So we're just going to use these. I actually got these on sale at Publix for 50 cents after Valentine's Day. So I'm just going to pull all these out and then we'll go ahead and get the muffin mix in the things. Alright, so I have my spoon. I'm just going to try to make these as even as possible. I'm going to start out with 2 spoonfuls to begin with. And hopefully there won't be too much extra. Well, I don't know. I guess it looks like it'll all fit in there. So 2 spoonfuls each, depending on the size of your muffin tin. That might vary. So 2 even spoonfuls. I have this thing about it not like going in where it should. So I'm just going to spoon those out evenly. Alright, it is a muffin miracle. They all fit. So I just like to smack them down. That just helps to even them out, get out all of the air bubbles. Alright, so we got those ready. The timer just beeped for the vegetables, so I'm going to go ahead and add the kale. Alright, so everything looks good on here. They still need some more time though. I like it when my potatoes are more, when they're not mushy. So I'm just going to give it some more time. But I'm going to go ahead and add the kale on top. We'll keep the oven at 450. And then I'm going to just leave that on 450 for about another 15 minutes. So I'm going to add the kale and then I'm going to kind of stir it in so that way it's not sitting on the top all and then get all roasted. Boo! Boo! So we're going to do it like that. And this is the part where you try not to be too messy. I have a pan that was deeper. I probably should have used that one, but it's all good. So I'm just going to kind of stir all that in and get the vegetables sharing. Jeremiah, stop eating grapes. I'm making food.
A little bit more.
No, you can have one more and that's it. Go play. Oh, I lost some kale. I don't want the dog to eat it. Alright, so I'm just going to stir that up so it gets nice and even. Alright, so that is done. I'm going to put this at the bottom of the oven. And then I'm going to put the muffins on the top. And so these are going to go in there. We're going to try everything at 15 minutes and then see who needs to stay in there longer. Alright, so I went ahead and took everything out. So the muffins are done. And this looks pretty good. I did get some of my kale a little charred. So maybe next time once I put the kale in there, I'll kind of turn down the oven a bit. But this looks pretty good. Yeah, just some of the kale at the end looks like it got a little too much done. So I'm just going to spread this around and then I'm going to season it before I add the eggs on here. And the sausages that had to be gotten from the store should be here momentarily. So we're going to get that going. So definitely turn your oven down to probably about 400 when you put the kale in, or else it'll get kind of crispy. Hopefully it won't have like a burnt taste to it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get the seasonings for this. So we're going to add a little bit of salt. I have a little bit of pepper. I'm going to add a little bit of cumin. And then a little bit of paprika. All right, and then I'm gonna mix that up and then we will add the eggs on it. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is just crack an egg on top. I'm going to do 9 altogether on there. And then we're gonna put that back in the oven for another 10 more minutes. All right, so this is what it looks like, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop that in the oven. All right, well, that concludes the video for today. Be sure to check out my Instagram to see what the video looks like at the end. And thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.